Hello, Torbridge High. Excuse me. I'm Tom Palmer, and Mrs. Bowles has sent me an excellent list of questions that you've asked me that I'm now going to answer for you. There are, as you can see, 41. Can you see? 41 questions. So I'll probably do the answers quite quickly, otherwise you'll get bored, and probably I will too. Anyway, I'll try and keep it down to like 10-15 minutes. Right, let's go. What inspired you to write? Thank you very much for asking these questions. 1. What inspired you to write books? First of all, reading. Once I got into reading things that I was interested in, not just boring stuff, I wanted to write my own stories, and also I write about things that sort of interest me and annoy me. So this is about First World War soldiers who were footballers as well, and that sort of interests me. 2. What was the first book you ever wrote? Actually, it was not a big in Plymouth. It's that one, which is about being a Leeds United fan, but the less you say about that, the better. But my first children's book was that one. What do you do when you relax? If I'm not working, I spend as much time as I can with my family, my wife and my daughter. And if they're busy, you wouldn't, I suppose you call it relaxing, but I like fell running. But it is relaxing. I like running on the hills near where I live, on the Pennines. So if you look up fell running, it gives you an idea of it. But I'm quite slow because I weigh too much. Right, question 4. Did you ever write a book for your daughter? Yes. I've not got a copy to show you, but I've got with me. I wrote a book called Secret FC, which is about two girls who start a football team. And there's a character in that called Lily, who's based on my daughter, and she comes up in 2 of my other books as well. But I kind of write them all for my wife and my daughter, because it's my job. I write the books because I love it, but also to earn money so that I can bring up my family, or help bring up my family. How many cats do I have? 2, and they're lovely. One's called Gus, and one's called Katniss, and they are named after famous characters from books that a lot of you will have read, I would imagine. Have you got any brothers or sisters? Yes, I've got a brother. No, I've not. I've got a half brother, a step brother, 2 step sisters, a half sister, and a sister. But my sister I'm not actually related to by blood, because I was adopted. So I've probably got other brothers and sisters who I don't know about, but I need to speed up. Anyway, what's my favourite sport? It's always been football all my life, but at the moment it's rugby, just because I'm going off football, maybe a bit. Shouldn't really say that. Anyway, it's true. What's your favourite food in the world? Black pudding. Sorry, it's a bit disgusting. There you go, with fried egg. Have you considered writing a book which doesn't include characters? Sorry, have you considered writing a book which includes the characters from the rugby trilogy? Yes. I wrote a story for the World Cup where those characters are in it. Would I write another one? I might do, yeah. All the characters stay in my head, because when you make a character, you have to make them feel like they're a real person. So you care about them, and you worry about them a bit, not, but so possibly yes, because you make them into people that you could revisit in the future. Sorry, that was a waffling answer. What advice would you give to someone who doesn't like reading or sport? Find something you do like. So whatever you like, it can be a really important part of your life. Like if you like animals. You could be a vet or be into conservation and stuff like that. Whatever your interest is, it's really important. It's a part of you. What you're into defines you, and if you can make that into something that makes you happy, you can read about it in magazines and books and newspapers. But you can also make it into a job, or you can just do it and enjoy it. Whatever it is, that's part of your life and who you are, regardless of education and stuff like that. Do you like Xbox and video games? I used to play FIFA a lot, but I found it got in the way of being a good dad, so I completely stopped playing all video games because it's more important to spend as much time as I can with my wife and my daughter because I love them. How long have you been writing books? As a job, 10 years. As trying to get published for 30 years. Do you enjoy writing books? I love it. I love the research. I love making up a plan for a story. I like writing it, and I even like editing it and stuff like that. I like all the stages. Sometimes I get a bit bored or tired, and then I stop and then go back to it when I'm feeling a bit refreshed, often after a cup of coffee. What book are you writing at the moment? I've just started planning a book about, it's sort of, you know, like the Alex Rider books, sort of spies and lots of action, but set in Anglo-Saxon times. I've just started planning and researching that. How do you get ideas for your books? Ideas come from different places, so this was inspired by walking past a creepy old football stadium, but also it's about 3 boys camping in a football stadium overnight, but also I needed to know what it was like to camp in a football stadium, so on top, in addition to just seeing an old football stadium, I actually camped in a stadium overnight, and that gave me ideas about how to describe what it's like in the dark in a football stadium on your own. What is your favourite book you've written? This one, because it's about real people who fought in the First World War, including a character called Jack Cock, which is a slightly unfortunate name, but it wasn't such a big deal 100 years ago, and he ended up playing for Plymouth, and he was a soldier in the First World War as well as a decent footballer. Well, he played for England, so he must have been quite good. Who inspired you to read? My mum inspired me to read by getting me to read about football, which is what I was interested in, and not all the kind of boring other books that people were trying to give me. She got me reading about what I really wanted to read about. And if you go into your library, you'll discover there's loads of stuff to read about all sorts of different hobbies, fiction, non-fiction, and magazines, newspapers, websites. Have you ever thought of including a school child you have met in one of your stories like you? I could do about half of my characters are children I've met in schools. You meet children and they sort of stand out and they're interesting, and they end up becoming the model for the character, so you never know. And I met some very interesting ones when I came to your school, of course. I really liked you all, actually. It was nice. What inspired you to start writing? Reading inspired me to start writing. It filled my head full of stories. Where do I get my ideas from? All over the place, really. Things that interest me, things that really annoy me, things that I think are wrong in the world, things that I think are right in the world, things that make me feel emotionally, things I react emotionally to. That makes me want to write about those things. Why do you write books? 1, because it makes me happy. 2, because I get paid to do it. Yeah, that's about it, really. What is the best place you've been to? Excuse me. Apart from Plymouth, probably New Zealand. I had a really lovely time in New Zealand, and researching books there. Norway as well. I went to the Arctic Circle. That was lovely too. How do you go about writing a book? Spider diagrams or mind maps? Spider diagrams, and then I make a plan, but I don't make a plan on one sheet of paper. I cut up a piece of paper into 16 pieces, and I write a scene on each piece, and then I can move the scenes and put them in a different order depending on what order I want them in. And because if you put it on a piece of paper, it's kind of already in order and it's a bit dead, whereas if you've got it on separate pieces of papers, you can shift it around, change the order, and that's quite exciting. Do you have an illustrator? Yes, I've got several for different books that I do. David Shepherd, Brian Williamson, James Innerdale, people like that. What's your favourite book not written by you? Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte, and I like the Alex Rider books by Anthony Horowitz. What's your favourite dessert? I thought it said desert there for a moment. My favourite desert, just for reference, is the Sahara Desert, where I went in 1998, and that is where I met my wife. And my favourite dessert is, it's got to be chocolate. Although I do quite like rhubarb, but it's chocolate, like a really sort of Oh, in Costa, you know they do those Belgian shortbread squares with chocolate, caramel, and then shortbread. Them, I love them. But actually, they're all right for when I'm away. But when I'm at home, anything home baked, like by my wife and daughter who are into making cakes and that's much better and much nicer, obviously. How long have you been writing for? As a job, 10 years. As a hobby, 30 years. Do you write dyslexia-friendly books because you have dyslexia or because someone you know has it? I've met a lot of children with dyslexia and adults, and I don't have it. I struggled with reading when I was young, but I think when I meet children who struggle with reading and I show them the dyslexia-friendly books, you can really see the difference it makes, and it is. I absolutely love it that my books are available to more people because they're dyslexia-friendly, and it's wonderful the look. Sometimes when I show a book like that to a child who's got dyslexia and hasn't seen it, it makes them easier to read. It doesn't make them perfect to read, but it makes them easier to read, and I think that's a wonderful thing, and it really makes me happy. So I'm really proud to be doing that. Who do I support? Do you support any other football rugby teams? I support Leeds United, Leeds Rhinos and Yorkshire Carnegie in football, rugby league and rugby union, and then England and everything, and Yorkshire in cricket, of course, being from Yorkshire. Who do you want to win the Six Nations? England. Do I think they're going to win? You'll probably be watching this just before the Wales game, so I think it's really tight between England and Wales, but it's really hard to call. But whoever wins that's going to win it probably, aren't they? But hopefully England. But I think Wales have got more experience and they're more gelled as a team, and their coaching team's more established. So I think it's really tight. What was your favourite sport in school? Football? Do you have neat handwriting? No. How do you come up with the adjectives for your books? Right. Adjectives. They're like describing words, aren't they? I think the problem is with me is because when I was at school, I didn't engage very well at school, and so I kind of learnt to read and write without knowing what all those things are called. And to be honest with you, I think it's more important you write from the heart and don't worry about sticking a noun and a verb and an adjective. And I know you have to for school and to do well at school, and your teachers want you to, but for me it's really important to write everything that you want to say and express yourself. Then you can go back and say, oh, I might put a fancy word in there. But to be honest, adjectives, you can put too many adjectives in. I like spare, sort of bare prose, which describes things but doesn't go over the top with flowery language. And so, yeah, what was the question again? Sorry. How do you come up with the adjectives? I just write like I speak, which isn't terribly articulate, is it? But I write like I speak, and then I see what comes out. And occasionally I'll slot a fancy word in there, which is how I see adjectives, to be honest with you. But I know you have to do it for school, but it's really important, first of all, to express yourself and get out what you're thinking and feeling before you worry about the architecture of what you're trying to write, noun, verb, adjective, connectives and all that. To be honest, yeah, I'll not go on. How did you feel when you wrote your first book? Well, when I wrote it, it felt like, who am I kidding? Am I ever going to get published? That's ridiculous. So I didn't have much confidence, but I kept going because I really wanted to try and be an author. And when it got published, I felt amazing. I felt glorious. But when I was actually writing it, it was a time of self-doubt and constantly stopping and thinking, what's the point? And giving up for a bit and then trying to get back and do it again. And it's quite hard because it's like with anything you've not done before, you don't have confidence, and I had to. It's like faith, isn't it? You have to pretend to yourself that you're going to get published, even though you know you're probably not. And I was really lucky that I was. Anyway. What author inspired you to read? Lots of different authors. More than authors, it was going to the library where there was loads of free books that I could just get out. I could get one out, and if I didn't like it, I'd read 10 pages, then take it back and get another. It was more important that I had free access to loads of authors rather than just one author. Do you have any brothers or sisters who also struggle with reading? It's a good question. Most of my brothers and sisters were really, really reader types, and still are, and really clever. But me and my sister did less well at school, and we didn't read a great deal. But now we do. But my sister didn't struggle with it, I don't think. One of my sisters. Do you feel dyslexia stopped you progressing at school? Not really, because I'm not dyslexic, but I know it does get in the way of a lot of children. What I really admire about, I meet a lot of dyslexic children and adults, they find something deep within themselves to compensate for how they struggle with reading, and they become even greater people. So Richard Branson, for instance, is dyslexic, and he's an extraordinary man. And if you look at the not famous, but successful people who have been dyslexic, there's a lot of them, and it's extraordinary and really amazing that even though they're held back by struggling with reading, they've actually overleaped themselves and done amazing things in their lives than everybody without dyslexia. Can you speak any other languages? No, I'm not very good at languages. When I started school, I was so weak at English language, they wouldn't let me do English literature or foreign languages, so I never really got the opportunity to. I tried later in night school, but it's not something I'm very good at. I can order a cup of coffee in France and Spain and Italy and stuff. Have your books been written in any other language?